I've listened to so much crap in the last 2 weeks.
Hey, buddy.
You know, you hear all that crap, but I understood that that crap was going to come with the territory.
Hey, buddy.
But I'll live with the crap.
Buddy.
And I feel very good.
He's a disgruntled Scottish guard known for his lethal temper and his unusual eating habits. He weighs a metric ton. His name, Fat Bastard.
One of the things, Mike, that's been pointed out over the course of today and last night after the game is that you seem resigned to the fate after the game, that there wasn't much fire in you, and you sort of stood up before the media and said, well, you know, this is the way it is. Are you resigned to this fate?
You're the same guy that wrote about me when I did have the fire, that was the wrong thing to do. So who you crapping?
Well, I'm just asking.
Don't crap me now. No.
My daughter is born. That's all I ever get from you. And I will.
It is indeed time for our signature segment at 503 on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score, Boers and Bernstein. And I asked just one thing for myself. Limit it to something someone said, not something someone did.
And we start with Gary in Evanston on Who You Crappin' on The Score.
Hi, guys. Thanks to the World Cup, Wimbledon, and the Tour de France, I've been unable in the past months to avoid hearing about the three sports I truly hate.
Who cares?
And while guest hosting for Jim Rome last week, former NFL defensive end and current Booyah Marcellus Wiley called Lance Armstrong a, quote, true champion and a legend. And Wiley actually said that he had a bad feeling that the doping allegations against Armstrong would prevent him from, quote, going down in history with all the love he deserves, and that, quote, nothing but adoration should pour out towards Armstrong, and what he did on those two wheels needs to be revered. Now, that is excessive Armstrong worship and given by Booyah standards, and someone should tell Marcellus that instead of being adored and revered, Armstrong should be held in scorn and contempt, because in reality he is a self-aggrandizing phony and fraud. And Wiley actually graduated from Columbia. Marcellus Wiley, who are you crapping?
There he goes. He goes off again.
The crosshairs of Glenn are focused on me. It says, Dan Bernstein, in rejecting the candidacy of Ryne Sandberg as manager of the Cubs, warned us not to put stock in his status as a Hall of Fame player, his time spent toiling in the minors, arguing that neither of these is indicative of managerial success in the majors. Fair enough, Dan. However, you also asked listeners the rhetorical question, do you want a manager who's never won anything? Dan, individual success as a player, even success at Hall of Fame levels, isn't indicative of ability. Why is membership on a successful team? Seems to me the only thing being on a championship baseball team indicates you know how to get along with people who are really good at baseball. It doesn't mean you know how to instruct, direct, or motivate these people to win. Looking at the pre-Major League managerial careers of some of the more respected in the game, Bobby Cox, Tony La Russa, and Jim Leland had negligible Major League playing careers. Joe Torre was a successful player but never won a championship. Bobby Cox won only one minor league championship in 6 years. Jim Leland won 3 in 11. But Tony La Russa had about a season and a half of total coaching experience before taking over the Sox. Joe Torre had one playoff appearance in 12 seasons managing the Mets, Braves, and Cardinals before taking over the Yankees. If you're going to succeed in your quest to take baseball out of the dark ages of cliche-driven analysis, then you can't adopt or reject a managerial candidate based on whether or not he's a winner. Dan Bernstein. Who you crapping?
A winner.
And he adds, I'm not afraid of clowns, but I am afraid of ass clowns.
Who isn't?
Nate in Warrenville, you're on Who You Crapping on The Score.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Nate.
Terry, I'm here to fulfill your wish. This is my first crap.
Good luck with your first crap.
Thank you. This crap goes out to Steve Stone. During Monday's White Sox game in Seattle, Hawk and Stone were discussing the beauty and impressive attendance at Safeco Field. Stoney said he could, quote, just imagine coming out to see a young Ken Griffey Jr. and a young Alex Rodriguez when they first came to the big leagues and came here. Well, Stone, as someone who grew up near Seattle in the early 90s, I would have loved to have gone to Safeco Field to see these two young future Hall of Famers. The only problem is we had to go to the Kingdome and dodge falling debris because Safeco Field opened in July of 1999, 10 years after Junior's debut and 5 years after A-Rod. You got the right team, but the wrong stadium. Steve Stone, who you crappin'?
Thank you, Nate. Nice catch. This is from Black Milwaukee Ben, who says it goes out to SI columnist John Wertheim, who argues that Serena Williams is the best female tennis player of all time. He supports his argument by saying she booms 125-mile-an-hour serves from the service line. What? I'm not a tennis expert, more of a lawn bowler, but even I know that serving from the service line is a foot fault by about 10 feet. In tennis, players serve from the baseline, not the service line. This exposes his lack of basic knowledge. But he says that Serena Williams has played the toughest and deepest competition in the history of tennis. Well, let's look at the current top 5 ranked female players after Serena. Jelena Jankovic, 0 majors. Venus Williams, 7 majors. Caroline Wozniacki, 0 majors. Samantha Stosur, 0 majors. And Elena Dementieva, 0 majors, for a total of 7. Now let's look in 1989, when Steffi Graf was number 1 in the world. Who was ranked behind her? Martina Navratilova, 18 majors. Chris Evert, 18 majors. Monica Seles, 9 majors. Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, 4 majors. And Gabriela Sabatini, 1 major, for a total of 50 major championships. So who would you rather compete against? John Wertheim, who you crappin'? That's a very complete and motivated tennis crap there.
It really is, but you know something? That's correct, though. She is the best ever.
You think Serena is?
Oh, yeah.
Unemployed lawyer in Lakeview is on the score.
I didn't realize Gabri Sidibe was a tennis star.
No, Gabriela Sabatini.
Okay.
We're sending you her complete video collection.
No, I'm just glad you corrected me before I imagined her in a tennis skirt.
I just did. Thanks for that.
No problem. Responding to critics after accidentally inventing the word repudiate, Sarah Palin did not admit to making a mistake. She got sanctimonious, saying, quote, English is a living language. Shakespeare likes to coin new words, too. Okay, so she's saying an accidental portmanteau makes her William Shakespeare? Let's compare. Shakespeare, 38 plays and 154 sonnets. Palin, going rogue. It's true Shakespeare invented thousands of words, several appearing in this very crap. But he did so on purpose with the control of a master word guy. Inventing words accidentally doesn't make you Shakespeare. It makes you a dumbass. Sarah Palin, who you crappin'?
Thank you, unemployed lawyer.
She always has an answer for you, though.
Schmutzy says that Dwyane Wade said there's going to be times when we might lose 1-2 games in a row, 3 times in a row. You never know. It's going to seem like the world has crashed down. You're all going to make it seem like the world trade has just went down again, but it's not going to be nothing but a couple basketball games lost, and we'll have to get back on track. After Wade learned that some people were offended by his remarks, he issued the following statement. It appears that my reference to the World Trade Center has been either inaccurately reported or taken completely out of context. I was simply trying to say that losing a few basketball games should not be compared to a real catastrophe. While it was certainly not my intention, I sincerely apologize to anyone who found my reference to the World Trade Center to be insensitive or offensive. Well, I find Wade's non-apology to be suspiciously lucid when compared to his original remarks. I mean, it's almost like someone else wrote it for him. But forgetting about the ghostwriter, I'd like to point out to Dwyane and his World Trade Center reference, any World Trade Center reference made as a comparison to a lost basketball game is inherently offensive and insensitive. When remarks like that are used to mock people who have an unrealistic expectation of the Heat, it's borderline grave dancing. The follow-up non-apology is really rather ham-handed as well. But look at the context. Wade's saying that people's expectations of the Heat are unreasonably high. After LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Wade just put the entire sports world through 3 weeks of the most agonizing hype job in the history of the planet with an hour-long TV special, an MTV-style unveiling party, he now has the gall to mock people who succumbed to the very hype he generated? Could it be that Wade is already feeling the pressure? Most thinking people have known all along that if and when the Heat lose a few, it won't be nothing but a few basketball games. It's Wade and his entourage of retards who've acted like the Heat are the modern equivalent of the 27 Yankees. And so any lofty expectations people may have are expectations he's been peddling since the middle of June. Dwyane Wade, who you crappin'?
Nice.
Yeah, that's good on two levels there. We've had a couple multi-leveled craps here. Steve in Hickory Hills, you are on WSCR The Score.
Love your show.
Love your suit.
Love you, bear. Also, this
What?
This crap goes out to Ron Santo in yesterday's game versus the Houston Astros. Ron Santo, our well-known, knowledgeable person of call-to-call, play-to-play, was calling the game again yesterday with Len Casper, and then he stated that he thought that Chris Johnson was going to go on this play to steal second base. And Len looked over him and said, unfortunately, Ron, Chris Johnson is at bat. So, knowing your knowledge of everything that Ron Santo knows and how he does these things, Ron, please take your wooden shoes, retire, go home. Ron Santo, who you crapping?
Wooden shoes? He has regular shoes. All kinds of normal shoes.
Everybody needs a crap from Mars. I mean, we need one. There should be one every Thursday.
His wooden feet. The shoes are fine.
We wooden feet, and he loves basketball.
I love the idea of
maybe he has clogs.
Yeah, right. A Sabat.
Dutch Santo. Not to be confused with Dutch Rennert, who I don't even know if he was Dutch.
It's a good point, but I think I don't know.
John in Polo says, Sneaky Pete Carroll. This week, Pete, you sat down with Fox to discuss the sanctions against USC, and in reference to the lavish lifestyle of Reggie Bush, you said, we should have known. Pete, that stinks of I knew but didn't want to know. What we knew was you were getting out of Dodge before the inevitable sanctions were imposed on the nightmare you ignored. Oh, sorry, I mean should have known about. Let's not pretend here, Pete. The Seahawks job isn't exactly an opportunity that a coach of a dynasty just can't turn down. Sounds more like the next flight leaving town. When the NCAA conducted their investigation, they could ask one simple question, Sneaky Pete, who you crappin'?
Yeah. Well, he spun a magic web, though, for
Didn't
a while.
he? Bob and Glen Ellen, you're on Who You Crappin' on the Score.
Hello, boys.
Hello.
This crap goes out to Nick Saban at a press conference this week. Nick Saban said the agents who have illegal contact with football players are pimps and wondered how they could do that to such young people. Well, Nick, let's take a look in the mirror. You make millions of dollars the backs of players who get nothing but an education to a second-rate public institution that I wouldn't even send my future bastard kids to. So, Nick, before you use your pip cane to get on the more high ground, ask yourself, who you crapping?
That's we're in the middle of Who Ya Crappin' here on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score, 312-644-6767. Come on out and play. Still plenty of time. You got Boers and Bernstein. And we are in the midst of Who Ya Crappin'. You can get the Boers and Bernstein at 312-644-6767.
And when we say you can jump on in, we mean it. Because we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 open lines. So if you got something to say, I don't want to sit on hold, you will not.
Oh.
You might not get on if you suck, but if a Batacola says, all right, yeah, that sounds good, then give it a shot. 312-644-6767. This has come in to the feedback zone, brought to you by Xfinity from the Superb Owl. And he writes, this is a serious crap, and it goes out to Ringo Starr, who recently gave the New York Times an interview on the occasion of his 70th birthday.
70, yeah.
When reporter Dave Itzkoff asked the former Beatle, can I wish you a happy birthday ahead of schedule? Ringo replied, you can. And you can put the gift in the post, or you can leave it at the concierge. Now, Ringo, I know you've got too much to do to answer any fan mail, which is your right. But I remember once you told the entire world that if we sent you something in the mail, it was going to get tossed. As a matter of fact, you said you would accept nothing anymore. Mm-hmm. So that puts people like Mr. Itzkoff and your fans in a tough position. Did they send you a gift or not? We'd really like some clarity on the issue. So until then, Ringo, I ask you with peace and love, who you crappin'?
This is a serious message to everybody watching my update right now. Peace and love, peace and love. I want to tell you, please, after the 20th of October, do not send fan mail to any address that you have. Nothing will be signed after the 20th of October. If that has a date on the envelope, it's going to be tossed. I'm warning you with peace and love, but I have too much to do. So no more fan mail. Thank you. And no objects to be signed. Nothing. Anyway, peace and love, peace and love.
That was a quote of the year runner-up, I want to
really
say.
Was.
Maybe,
that was classic.
might have finished third a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
it was Oh, this one.
Oh, Mel, you're in great shape for this year.
Yeah, you really are.
Don't you worry.
Maybe the top 3.
Well, she can't do that while smiling.
So Maddie said earlier,
seriously, you can't
you want
smile.
more of a surprise look on their face than the smile.
That's called there's a different expression you want, because if she's smiling, it's going to hurt. That's all the time. You can ask her to smile. And
Either that or you're a small man.
Yeah, but ow, no thank you.
Lord.
Meanwhile, he's bent over with his balls in a knot anyway, so... Well, what you want her to do first? Probably want her to smile afterward, because it's hard to do while smiling.
I don't care if you smile or not.
I left my wife because we had no spiritual common ground.
Yeah.
I think you're an ass bag, I think is probably why. All right, 312-644-6767. Core of the Big Apple says LeBron James responding to the rumor that Chris Paul is contemplating leaving the Hornets and joining the Knicks in an attempt to lay the groundwork for a 2011 triumvirate of Paul, Stoudemire, and Carmelo Anthony. James tweeted the following words of encouragement. Best of luck to my brother CP3. Do what's best for you and your family. Well, I guess there's many ways to read into the King's advice as to what is best for Paul and his family. Perhaps he means that Paul should schedule an inane pseudo-interview and squirmingly announce his intentions, thereby reducing his credibility while maximizing his sanctimony quotient. Or perhaps LeBron is advising to minimize his leadership abilities along with his marketability and brand value by deferring his talents to those of other all-stars. Or maybe he's suggesting that alienating the majority of one's hometown fans with an aloof and condescending attitude is the best way to maintain one's stature in the public eye. While I wasn't particularly disappointed in LeBron's decision, I'm amazed that he didn't learn enough from the resulting backlash to just shut up for a while. LeBron, until your team of advisors actually helps you figure out what's best for you, don't be offering advice as to what's best for others. LeBron James, who you crappin'?
Nice.
Yeah, that's and
nice.
quick, because that just happened today, too. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Tinley Park Mark says, Daniel. In his last hour before signing off for his trip to Brokeback Mountain, Canada, he was dismayed by the vitriol shown by disappointed basketball fans who felt screwed by the LeBron decision. He was especially puzzled by the fans who burned LeBron jerseys, calling such actions of hatred a waste of energy. Then 30 minutes later, Mac boastfully talked of his plan to visit Chris Pronger's hometown to find a statue or sign with his likeness on it so he could urinate on it. Now, I know they do things differently in Canada, and all the nature lovers, maybe doing that to someone's likeness may be a sign of respect or possibly a way to show that you're interested. But around these parts, in the good old U.S., urinating on property is, well, frowned upon. So, Dale, welcome back from the Northwoods, and who you crappin'? Yeah, he brought fish today.
Yeah.
He brought fish to be prepared by others and brought over here. I know. And we thank him for it.
Absolutely.
Should we check the manometer? Is that something that you
I
would
think
suggest?
we should.
Okay.
I think we should. And I can't really say because there's a new twin. There's a twin pitcher that day, but I got it from him, but you wouldn't know who he was, so I'll just say, where did I get it from?
Is it Jeff Manship?
It's Jeff Manship.
Exactly
right.
I know my new twins.
Got it from Jeff Manship.
And it's from Brian, who says this goes out to Sam Adam Jr., one of the bloviating defense attorneys representing Rod Blagojevich at his federal corruption trial. Yeah. During opening statements back in June, Adam said, I'm telling you now, he's going to testify. He's not going to let some chubby, four-eyed lawyer do his talking for him. After watching the government cross-examine his brother, the former governor finally managed to make a good decision. He exercised his right to remain silent. Sam Adam Jr., you sacrificed your credibility with the jury by taking your client, a serial liar and narcissist, at his word. So while you count the hours before a conviction, ask yourself, who you crappin'?
You make us
wonder with the things you say.
Hey,
maybe
buddy.
you were having an off day.
Hey, buddy.
You must have thought that we were napping.
Hey, buddy.
Who you crapping?